Did you know that from eating just 1 kilograms of meat, you produce almost 36 to 99 kilograms of carbon dioxide? 1 kilo of beef has the same impact as driving a car for hundreds of miles. That's too much. Very much. And you should stop. Well, what do we do then? This is where lab-grown meat come in, which is what I'm going to talk about today, and it is my biology project. The rising carbon emission from traditional meat production contributes significantly to global warming. Well, this is a big problem. Biotechnology offers a solution: lab-grown meat. They use genetic engineering and fermentation to replicate animal proteins without the need for livestock. Complicated word, complicated sentence. I know. Still, the solution can be impacted by how society react to this new technology. We can see this from the company Beyond Meat. Memes on by millions and millions of Texans for being fake American. Global warming. It is strongly linked to the current livestock farming methods. Cattle farming alone contribute to almost 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emission. Producing 1 kilograms of beef releases up to 99 kilograms of carbon dioxide, making it one of the most carbon-intensive food. This makes traditional meat production a major driver of climate change. The problem begins with industrial farming system. Raising cattle requires huge amount of feed, land, and water. Forests are cleared for grazing, destroying biodiversity and releasing stored carbon. Additionally, cattle produce methane during digestion, an extremely potent greenhouse gas. For individual, excessive red meat consumption is linked to a higher heart disease. Americans, you're not off the hook yet. Furthermore, communities experience economic instability when livestock prices change or when drought reduces feed supply. Urban communities also face higher food insecurity as meat becomes more and more expensive to produce. Environmentally, livestock farming uses almost 27% of the fresh water and occupies 77% of agriculture land, yet provide less than 20% of global calories. This is extremely inefficient, you see. Imagine that you use 3/4 of a brand new eraser, but it can only erase maybe 200 words. That's inefficient, right? Well, this is traditional meat farming, and that's why it needs to be changed. Well, biotechnology aims to solve this problem, a massive problem, with sustainability, environmental, and technological breakthrough with cultivated meat grown from labs using proteins. Well, I'll dive into that later. It's for grown men. Furthermore, communities experience economic instability when livestock prices change or when drought reduces feed supply. Urban communities also face higher food insecurity as meat becomes more and more expensive to produce. Environmentally, livestock farming uses almost 27% of the fresh water and occupies 77% of agriculture land, yet provide less than 20% of global calories. This is extremely inefficient, you see. Imagine that you use 3/4 of a brand new eraser, but it can only erase maybe 200 words. That's inefficient, right? Well, this is traditional meat farming, and that's why it needs to be changed. Well, biotechnology aims to solve this problem, a massive problem, with sustainability, environmental, and technological breakthrough with cultivated meat grown from labs using proteins. Well, I'll dive into that later. It's for grown men. Well, my dear follower, I'm going to talk about the process now. So if you're not a true nerd like Einstein or whatever random scientist, I suggest you click off because you won't understand a thing I say. Now for the one who left. Well, cultivated meat, also known as lab-grown meat, was first demonstrated in 2013 by Dr. Mark Post at Maastricht University. The weird name. I would assume it's from Germany. Who produced the world's first cultured beef burger. The original prototype cost around $330,000 US. That's, I don't know, that's a bit too expensive for a burger patties. But rapid advance in cell culture technology and bioreactor efficiency have reduced the cost to under $10 per serving. That's extremely high. 320 baht for a patties of lab-grown meat. I'm not paying for that. However, it's still scaling. In 2025, the process begins with a small biopsy taken from a living animal, such as cow, pig, lamb, or dogs. I'm sorry, no racism. Well, you collect the muscle stem cells. These cells are placed into a nutrient-rich growth medium and expanded under controlled temperature in those fancy labs you see in video games or movie. Then, oxygen and pH condition in bioreactor are also controlled. Once the cells multiply, they are transferred onto an edible scaffold that guide them to form organized muscle fiber, producing tissue similar to conventional meat. Well, from my experience, it might be similar, but they're definitely not the same. It does not taste like A5 Japanese Wagyu. At least not yet. Well, cultivated meat provides several environmental advantages. Studies have shown that it can reduce land by up to 95%, that's a lot, land use, and water consumption by 78% compared to traditional beef production. The process also eliminates methane emission from livestock. These things combined significantly reduce the amount of carbon emission that these cows provide. Well, they reduce the methane trap heat 28 times more effectively than CO2. Those methane from cows are more harmful than those CO2 produced in factories. 28 times. That is absolutely crazy. Despite these benefits, the technology still faces challenges. If bioreactors rely on fossil fuels, cultivated meat can produce up to 25% more CO2 than chicken, reducing its environmental advantage. By Senke Odegaard 2021. Growth media ingredients remain very, very expensive. And global survey indicate that only 40% of consumers are willing to try cultivated meat. Hello, Tyson. Why are you not trying? Although these survey indicate that only 40% of customers are willing to eat them, that's still a pretty significant amount. Well, although these limitations retain and remain for a long time, ongoing improvement in renewable energy use, growth media design, and bioreactor efficiency suggest that cultivated meat could become a much, much more sustainable alternative to conventional meat in the near future. Let's talk about factors. There are many factors, and I'm mainly going to be talking about environmental factor because it's what concerned me the most. Well, cultivated meat has the potential to drastically lower environmental damage caused by livestock. It can also reduce land use by up to 95%, protecting forest biodiversity, wetland, and whatnot. Methane emissions are also nearly eliminated if we adopt wide-range use of these lab-grown meat. Studies also show that they use 78% of less of water, which is a massive amount compared to the one like 22 to 28% that they're using now. The absence of manure also avoids soil and water contamination. Well, those are all positive. Now let's talk about the negative. Cultivated meat produced heavily depend on electricity. Model shows that if bioreactors are powered by fossil fuels, cultivated meat could produce up to 25% more CO2 than chicken or poultry, if you fancy. Higher purified growth media also require energy intensive manufacturing, which increase emission. If countries do not use renewable energy, and the environmental benefit are greatly reduced, but there are still benefits. Waste from bioreactor must be carefully managed to avoid chemical pollution. Cultivated meat offer a majority of environmental advantage: less land, less water, and no methanes or soil contamination by crap or manure, if you fancy. They also depends greatly on renewable energy for efficient growth media and responsible waste management to be very successful and efficient. With proper infrastructure, care, and investment, cultivated meat becomes far more sustainable than livestock. Without it, the gains will become smaller and the road will be destroyed. I'm just kidding. Finally, then, in sight. In conclusion, biotechnology impact on the environment is a double-edged sword. Well, on the positive side, cultivated meat provide a strong biotechnology-based solution to the environmental problems and challenge that we're currently facing, and with traditional livestock farming being a significant role, playing a significant role in that, well, by moving on to lab-grown meat, we can reduce the land use, water consumption, methane emission, and water contamination, and also protecting our forest and wetland and more. However, its environmental impact depends on the access to renewable energy and improvement in growth media and bioreactor efficiency. Overall, cultivated meat is a strong solution, but not a perfect one. To maximize its benefit, government should expand on renewable energy infrastructure. Companies should invest in serum-free and plant-based growth media, and researchers should improve large-scale bioreactor system. With these advancements, cultivated meat could become a truly sustainable alternative to conventional meat farming and livestock farming. And also, we as a consumer and as people that care about this planet, we should really give this a try, man. 100 miles of car ride for 1 kilograms of meat. I eat like 5 kilograms every day when I go to buffet. Well, don't mind my pajamas and a suit, and see you in the next video. Peace out.